Optus has a commitment to reduce our emissions not only in our operations but also in our supply chain. When we became one of the first companies in Asia to sign up to the science-based target. So for us, it's a very important goal. I remember back in 2019, 2020, when we experienced the black summer here in Australia. That's why I'm doing this, because I understand not only the benefit for communities, but also because I understand what are the potential impacts for my family.
So organisations that have set a specific target around their reduction efforts need to measure their emissions in order to really be able to feed into that process. If you don't understand your emissions and the specific supplier activities that feed into your own carbon accounting, you don't really have many levers to actually reduce your emissions. So if you're using the spend-based approach, it's really spend less money in terms of with those suppliers. That's going to reduce the calculation. Or if you're using an activity-based approach, it's essentially procuring less of those goods and services that feed into the process. So the only way to credibly reduce your emissions is to engage with your suppliers and demonstrate year-on-year reduction. In addition to that, it really unlocks the ability to collaborate with those suppliers. Once you understand their emissions and the key things that are driving those, you can then start to look at the broader supply chain, build out strategic opportunities within that to really dig into the suppliers, what they need, and how you can move the needle to actually get to net zero or whatever the specific decarbonisation objective that you have is.
We need to create a specific targeted approaches for big companies, medium-sized companies, and small companies, because small and medium companies, they don't have sustainability teams. They don't have people dedicated to that. They don't have the bandwidth to really learn about scope 1, 2, and 3. What is that? So I think that's very important, just segmenting the different suppliers and addressing those needs, and at the same time providing that level of support or safety, make them feel that they are not alone in this journey, that we are with them, and that provides the best outcome, not only for the regulatory requirements that we need to fulfill, but also for the achievement of scope 3 emission targets reductions for big companies, and in general, the minimization of the risk associated with runaway climate change.
I think that's where procurement can help the most as well. I think that if we have things known up front with the business, so what are our expectations of the suppliers, it's much easier to have the obligations that go out with, the tender pack or with the request for proposal that goes to market, because that sort of, signals our intent for what's important to us and what's going to be important for the delivery of the work. So the more that we can work with sustainability to understand what the requirements are, so if we do need to report on the emissions or build circularity into the packaging of our products, if that's done at the very early stage, it's going to make our lives and the suppliers' lives a lot easier, because we all know what the expectations are. Just the approach that you have from the get-go, right? From the beginning of when we ran, as any good procurement person does, a solid RFP to get the right solution. But I think the interactions that we've had, and it flows through to the Sumday Academy, the training that is delivered online, the webinars that we've run, it's super approachable. And I think people resonate really well with that, especially if it's a topic they're not super comfortable with. I think it helps sort of, just put their minds at ease, like, okay, we can figure this out together. So having something that, is approachable, talks to their maturity level, helps them out with training, I think is really important.
But last year we completed the CDP survey, and whilst we implemented some environmental initiatives, our reporting was very much in its infancy. And the questions that were asked during that process, they were quite complicated. And I felt at the time, maybe as a business the size we were, that we didn't really have the expertise to provide meaningful responses. And it was, when you think about it, we had the knowledge gap in the business too, so we had to go out and find the information. There's a lot of information out there. You then got to interpret it and then apply it to your own situation. But I think, if I look at the approach that Optus took this year, I would say it was collaborative, it was supportive, and it was very solution focused. And I think they achieved that by introducing the Sumday platform to their supply chain. And what we got out of it as a business was, probably two buckets, the first being education. So our team was able to upskill, and it was all in one place. There were videos, there were definitions, there were articles, and importantly as well, we had access to the team. So we could, ring, email, are we on the right track, and get instantaneous feedback, whereas previously we didn't have that. And it was just, that in itself was probably the game changer for us. And I think as well, moving forward, that platform has provided a way forward for us, because we can have all our data in one place, all our work papers, all our assumptions, all our estimates.
Initially, it was quite difficult trying to get the data out of the different teams. Most of them were questioning why we needed data and why would it help our emissions accounting. But once we started to walk them through the importance of it and why there's a link between emissions accounting and financial data and procurement data, they started to appreciate that and started working on getting us better data. So I think for me, if I can get the finance team to really get into that detail and to the point that they can calculate emissions, I think that would be super. I think we'll definitely go a lot further.
JP is a legend. I think the program that we've managed to pull together with his support with Optus has been really game changing, and I think is market leading in terms of how they've approached their supplier engagement process, and we're seeing kind of really tangible outcomes out of that already.
I know the Sumday team has a lot of deep accounting expertise that help us to really engage clients and customers or suppliers from that end. But at the same time, they bring that financial lens that I don't have. So it has been not only fun, but also very rewarding to learn the accounting perspective, if that makes sense. And that is also important as part of this program.
Optus is proud to work with Sumday to help us achieve our net zero target by 2045. Scope 3 makes up a huge proportion of our overall emissions, and working together with our suppliers to improve our data reporting is a critical component of us achieving this target. Working together with our suppliers to be able to support them in reporting their own Scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions is also an important part of our supplier engagement program that Sumday is helping us deliver.